So, the Eastern Conference. As you can see in the title, I think it sucks. And there are multiple reasons for that, but chiefly among them is that the Western Conference exists, and the West is really good. And the East, outside of one team, is really not that great. If you look at the Knicks, if you look at the Bucks, if you look at the Cavs, if you look at the Magic, like all the top-ish seeds in the Eastern Conference, they all would have been roughly like Knicks won 50 games. If they kept that exact same record, they would have been tied with Dallas for the 5th seed, and I believe they would have been 6th seed. But you also have to consider that the East has teams like the Pistons, like the Wizards, like the Hornets, like the Raptors, like the Nets, like even the Hawks. All those teams are pretty bad. And sure, the West has some bad teams. The Portland Trailblazers, yeah, they're bad. The Spurs, yeah, they were bad this year, but they had Wembanyama. The Grizzlies were just hurt. They're a very good team when healthy. The Jazz, yeah, they're not great. But they're not the same sort of bad as the East teams, in my opinion. The Pistons lost 28 games in a row. The Hornets are bad. They've been bad for years. They are the laughingstock of the league. The Nets are the most painfully average franchise I've ever seen. Like, the Wizards, also painful to me, and I'm not a Wizards fan. Like, there is... that it's rough, man, looking at the East. And I look at, like, the top 6 seeds in the West, and if you gave them the exact same road as either the Knicks or the Pacers or the Bucks or, whoever, if they're not running into Boston, I think they all make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Sans maybe the Suns. But I think the Lakers would have made it. And like if Zion was healthy, I think the Pelicans also would have made it. Cuz like the Thunder, they're like sweeping through a couple of those series. The Nuggets, I think, same thing. Minnesota, I think, same thing. Clippers, I think you can probably start saying they lose some games. You can maybe convince me that they lose to a Knicks, that they lose to a Pacers, especially considering health. The Mavs, I think they beat those teams pretty handily, and so on and so forth. And also, there's a big talent disparity in like just the individual players. If you look at the All-NBA teams, first team was Jokic, Shea, Luka, Giannis, and Jason Tatum. So that's 3 West players, 2 East players. The second team was Jalen Brunson, and then the rest were Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi Leonard. 4 West players to 1 East player. So far, for those keeping track at home, it's 7-3. And then the third team was Devin Booker, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Domantas Sabonis. And then there was 1 East player, Tyrese Halliburton. So that is 11 West players to 4 East players on the All-NBA teams. Now, of course, this is, there is health involved here. Donovan Mitchell, I don't think, qualified for the teams. There were players that did not qualify for all NBA teams. But largely speaking, I mean, you could say the same thing about a lot of players in the West, like Ja. You can say the same thing about, you could go tit for tat with that. But largely, there is just a talent disparity between the West and the East. And as a fan of a team in the West, I know this is copium. I know this is whatever. But it's kind of bullshit. It sucks being a West fan and being like, damn, my team has to run through like 3 50-win or near 50-win teams if they want to even sniff the finals. My team has to beat a 46, 47, 49 win team in the first round. Or if you're a lower seed, like even the 5th seed, you have to play a 51 win team. in the East, if you're the 5th seed, you're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're playing the Orlando Magic, 48-47. And I know that that's not like a huge disparity, but you got to keep in mind also, these records are against mostly West teams or mostly East teams. The East is going to have like similar-ish records, sure, but they're also always beating up on the bad teams and the mediocre teams. Like, I don't think the reason Boston had 64 wins is because they play in the East, but I do think that they probably win more like 58-60 if they play in the West, you know? Like, even 4-game swing, that's a big deal. That could take you from being, the 2 seed in the East to the 8 seed. That could take you from being the 1 seed in the West to being like the 4 seed. So, I mean, shit, there is a lot there. And this is ultimately why I think, okay, this is my off-season take. I am in full off-season slot mode right now. They should go conferenceless. I'm tired of it. There's no reason that the Kings shouldn't be making the playoffs. There's no reason the Warriors shouldn't be making the playoffs. Because they had 46 wins in the West. That would tie them for 8th in the East. But if you take into consideration that they probably get 3 more wins, let's say, like 3 more wins doesn't sound super crazy to me if you say that they get to play the Pistons 4 times a year, the Wizards 3 times a year, and the Hornets 3 times a year. The Raptors 4 times a year, right? That doesn't sound insane to me. So, if you give them an extra 3 wins, they're the 3 seed. They are the 9 and the 10 seed in the Western Conference. That just shouldn't be happening, in my opinion. Again, this is all off-season slot mode. I am sure that they will never do conference-less format. Even if they kept conferences during the regular season and just reseeded 1 through 16, I think that would be cool, but also I guess not. That's probably not going to happen. And I don't see this changing anytime soon. Because, Donovan Mitchell might want out. He's probably going to go stay in the East. But, there's not going to be many teams in the West that are like, hey, take our stars. They're going to be trading 4 stars, probably. Like the Spurs? Man, the Spurs are going to be trading for people soon. And they already have Wembanyama. So that's a team that you have to look out for. The Grizzlies are going to be healthy again next season, so you got to look out for them. And the Rockets were 41-41. They ended the year on a very nice run. They had, I believe, a 12-game winning streak that kind of scared the Warriors for a second there. But, if you look at the West, outside the locks of, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Wolves, and I think the Mavs, right? I think those are playoff locks, assuming health. 2 of these, 3 of these teams are not going to make the play-in. You got the Clippers, the Suns, the Pelicans, the Lakers, the Kings, the Warriors, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs. 3 of those teams aren't even going to get to go to the play-in. That's absurd. And if Scoot becomes what we thought he could be, coming out of Ignite, the Blazers are a very good team. So I don't see a reason that there should be this much talent disparity between 2 conferences, and I don't know quite why it happens, but it does. And it's been there for years. I mean, if you look back throughout most of recent history, a lot of the dynasties have been out of the West. The Spurs, the Lakers, the Warriors. If you look at the recent past champions, Nuggets last season, the season before that it was the Warriors, season before that it was the Bucks, season before that was the Lakers. So in this decade so far, 3 of the 4 champions have been from the West. And then most of the 2010s was either, was the Warriors or LeBron. We're entering an era of parity, which is great. But I feel like most of the parity is happening out West. Because looking at this Eastern Conference, Not to take anything away from the Celtics, you can only play who's in front of you. Not to take anything away from the Pacers, you can only play who's in front of you. Both these teams should be very happy that they made the Eastern Conference Finals, and Boston should be happy that more than likely they are going to go to the finals in like a relatively easy fashion. But if you're the Pacers, you played the Bucks round 1 without Dame and Giannis. Without Dame for like half the series. Without Giannis for the entire series, though. You win that in, I believe it was 6. Then you play the New York Knicks, who were down to like 4 players and Tom Thibodeau at center. So, they win that in 7. And then game 1, they gave Boston quite the fright, but then they also choked down the stretch and gave Boston a 1-0 lead, and then they got blown out last night. So, they haven't exactly had a great playoffs, but also they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, but like they're a first round out in the West. The Celtics played the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat. Which is like the just reward you should get for being the 1 seed, by the way. That's not a problem with me. If you're the 1 seed, you should have a relatively easy series. Then they play the Cleveland Cavaliers, who Donovan Mitchell was really good. Outside of him, they weren't great. And Darius Garland didn't play super well. Evan Mobley kind of beat some Weenie Hut Jr. allegations, but also had moments where he was a soft-handed weenie. Jarrett Allen was out for most, if not all, of that series. And, like, it's just kind of rough, the disparity between the two conferences. So, yeah, like, just looking at Boston, Indiana, and then Dallas, Minnesota, the two series are completely different in how entertaining and how engaged they're getting people. Like, I watch a lot of these games on playback. You can go to playback if you want. I have my own channel, and I stream on Dom2K's channel quite a bit, just as like a co-host, or sometimes I do streams just by myself on his channel. Either way, I watch these games with a decent amount of people. Half the time that it's the East, we end up just basically doing a podcast, and we ignore whatever is happening in the game, even if it's like kind of a good game, because there's just nothing really to say. It's like Boston is winning. We kind of knew that this was going to happen. They had a 14 game differential between them and the 2 seed. Like, even the 73-9 Warriors had the 67 win Spurs. Like, we didn't know that the Warriors were getting the 1 seed the year that they won 73 games until like 2 weeks. 2 weeks from the season ending. Like, this has been around for a long time, and it'll probably continue to be around for a while too. So this is just an angry, not angry. This is just a concerned West fan bringing their concerns to the table. And thank you for hearing me out. If you liked this video, subscribe. I'm almost at monetization, so it would really help me out. If you disagreed, leave a comment. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me that I suck at my job. Tell me that tell me things, because the algorithm. You're feeding the algorithm. You're helping me. So do that, please. Anyway, I will see you guys sometime, maybe tomorrow. Anyway, bye.